Hello, I made this guide to help you decide what ultimate weapon you were going to pursue. This first one is the Star Destroyer. It scales with Dex plus Tech divided by 2, and it also pierces. This next weapon is Quicksilver. It scales with Dex and spawns a turret at the location of the mouse that fires 3 times. The turret shots scale with Tech divided by 3. The next weapon we have is the Repeater. This weapon constantly shoots a projectile that scales with Tech. Also, the projectile pierces the enemies. If you fire again, then it will shoot 2 projectiles. And the next weapon we have is Magma. While in combat mode, the gun emits a flame torch that scales with magic and kills anything in close quarters. Projectiles pierce enemies, scaling with Dex, and it also spawns a turret at the mouse location that shoots 3 times for magic divided by 2. The next gun we have is the chain gun. While in combat mode, the chainsaw damages enemies for 2 times your strength on contact. The gun does not pierce, and the bullets do scale with Dex. The next weapon is Oblivion. It scales with Dex plus Tac 1 ratio, and it increases your crit damage multiplier by 0.5 times. The next weapon is Avalanche. It scales with Dex plus Magic divided by 2. It has an increased hitbox size and pierces enemies. The next weapon is Atma weapon. This weapon requires mana to use. It fires a horizontal beam that scales with magic. The next weapon is Cold Snap. Scales with Dex plus magic divided by 2 and spawns a projectile at the mouse cursor, scaling with magic divided by 2. The next weapon is Sirius. It scales with Dex and Tech. Every second shot fires an additional projectile. While in combat mode, it drains your stamina. The next one is Sonic Steel. This gun makes you move incredibly fast. Scales with only Dex, but projectiles last a really long time but move really slowly, and they continuously push back some monsters. Next weapon is Death Penalty. scales with dex and vitality. Divided by 2 increases crit chance by 10% and crit damage multiplier by 0.5 times. The next weapon is Fomal Hut. It rapidly recovers mana. It scales with dex and current mana. Projectiles move through enemies. Coming up is Cataclysm. It scales with dex times 2. It has increased range, but you cannot regen HP from mods or vitality stats. Next we have the Betrayer. It scales with dex plus tech divided by 2. It has increased range and the speed projectile speed is increased. After that, we have Golden Suns. It scales with dex plus faith divided by 2. Increased range and hitbox. It also pierces through enemies. The next weapon we have is called Cerberus. It fires 3 shots that scale with tech divided by 2. It pierces enemies and knocks back, but does not deal critical strikes. The last but not least weapon is the Poop Maker. It scales with dex plus magic divided by 2. You gain an additional 4 points of damage per point of missing HP. Keep in mind that all of these weapons were level 1 and my character was a very low level character as well. I didn't have any special traits except for vitality. I will end up making the rest of the ultimate weapons and posting it on YouTube just to show the effects. The effects really help decide how good of a weapon it can be. Anyways, I'll see you guys soon.